What do you get when you mix oil wealth, political repression, and strategic Western alliances? For starters, you get powerful Gulf monarchies that punch above their weight on the world stage. You also get important insights into how these regimes work. And finally, you get an intriguing puzzle. Why are these monarchies so popular when they're so unfree? Let's start with the basics. First, there's what I call the rentier state theory. Gulf states like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, and Kuwait rely on oil wealth rather than taxation to fund their governments. This makes them less accountable to their own citizens, since they don't need to raise funds domestically. It also makes them more authoritarian, since they can use their oil wealth to build up security forces and control their populations, and it makes them very stable because their revenue is driven by global demand for oil rather than domestic politics. Second, their strategic alliances. The U.S. has military bases in Qatar, Bahrain, and the UAE. These alliances create a security relationship that goes back decades, and they're mutually beneficial. The Gulf states get important security guarantees from the U.S., while the U.S. gets access to important oil fields and energy security. Third, there's OPEC. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries is dominated by Gulf states. By controlling global oil supplies, they can influence the global economy and use this power for both economic and diplomatic leverage. For example, during the 1970s oil crisis, OPEC used oil as a weapon against the West. Fourth, there's geopolitical rivalries. There's a clear tension between the Gulf Cooperation Council, or GCC, and Iran. This rivalry spills over into the wider region, where the GCC intervenes in places like Syria and Libya. In 2017, Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Bahrain blockaded Qatar in an attempt to isolate it diplomatically. The GCC is also heavily involved in the ongoing conflict in Yemen, where it's backing a Saudi-led intervention. Fifth, there's soft power investments. The UAE, and to a lesser extent Saudi Arabia, are investing heavily in global sports, real estate, and technology. The goal here is to burnish their global image and create a more positive narrative about their countries. One of the most visible examples is the UAE's massive investment in the 2020 Olympics, in the midst of an ongoing controversy over human rights in the country. Another example is Saudi Arabia's plan to build the futuristic city of Neom. While these investments haven't always gone according to plan, they are part of a larger strategy to improve the country's image abroad. Sixth, there's the survival of monarchies. Unlike Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, or Syria, the Gulf monarchies have survived the Arab Spring uprisings relatively unscathed. Why? Well, in part it is because they were able to buy off potential protesters by handing out generous subsidies and creating new jobs. But it's also because they ruled with an iron fist and brutally cracked down on dissent. So why are Gulf states so powerful? Well, it all comes down to oil. Gulf oil wealth has turned these small states into global power brokers with strong ties to Western powers. This gives them a lot of leverage on the global stage and allows them to punch above their weight. But if these monarchies are so powerful and wealthy, why aren't they more modern? Well, that's a great question, and it gets to the heart of what makes these regimes so unique. Most Gulf states are ruled by absolute monarchies. Power is highly concentrated, and there's very little in the way of political accountability. Instead, legitimacy comes from religion and tribal loyalty. This creates a system where the ruler is seen as the ultimate authority, but it also means that there's little incentive to share that power. So there you have it, a quick introduction to the Gulf monarchies and how they work. If you want to learn more about the Middle East, be sure to subscribe for more updates. Thanks for watching.